To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
The conversation continues.
I don't believe it, and I think that's a terrible position that I am in, that I don't trust my government.
This is today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
Now, just in case you're just tuning in, when we opened this hour, my wonderful co-host here, Steve Hook, brought up this headline: the House January 6th committee deleted more than 100 encrypted files just days before Republicans gained the majority. And I just have to ask our next guest's opinion about this. He's a GOP political strategist and insider, and the host of the Grassroots Truthcast podcast, Gene Valentino, joining us once again here at State of the Nation. Gene, how egregious is this? I mean, as I said, we already talked about this, but I really want to get your take on this. I mean, this is sort of one of the big wins of 2022. One of the only small wins we got in the midterm elections was the House. Yet, as soon as that happens, House committee members go in and delete and then encrypt deleted files that could have exculpatory evidence or evidence that should be transparent to Americans with regards to J6. What do you think? How egregious is this in your mind?
Well, if America doesn't see it now, they never will. It is a two-party system, but it is also two tiers of justice. And if you don't see it, I mean, we get what we deserve. Now, just a few weeks ago, we were watching Hunter Biden snub the House Ethics Committee on the subpoenas they were seeking to have him come in and talk legitimately in a forum to gather information in the due process. And he snubs them. It's not even a matter of whether the House of Ethics Committee or any of the committees are doing things behind closed doors or encrypted. They just don't even respect the due process system. So what do I think about it? Oh my words, Brian. It's there's got to be a constitutional amendment that gets beyond the parties to take down this bad behavior. I jokingly, tongue-in-cheek, said last time we spoke, we need to write a book someday called The Art of Bad Behavior. We need to sit down together and write that book and just lay it out. 2 columns. Here's what the Democrats did. Here's what the Republicans did. In the same committee. And Jamie Raskin acts like there's a huge, egregious dislocation of democracy from the due process system because they are mistreating poor little Hunter. And they turn their backs on what they did in the committee just a few months earlier. This is beyond the pale. I don't know where to start, Brian. And while that's going on, you got the Supreme Court saying it's okay for the federal government to remove the Texas razor wire.
Yeah.
You've got, I mean, where do you want to start? You've got states beginning to come together to try to form alliances because the federal government isn't protecting the border. And we got bad behavior by the very elected officials. Here's the bottom line. Just vote straight Republican. I don't care if the guy's good or bad. It's clear that this cabal on the Democrat side's not working. Yeah, just give them a shot. Let the system fix itself. Even look what we're doing as Republicans. We stood up whether we liked it or not and ousted Kevin McCarthy. Do you see anybody doing that to oust Nancy Pelosi when she was speaker? Hell no. They jumped in line like a bunch of robotic Stockholm syndrome beaten children.
Well, Gene, it's good to see you again, man. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You guys get
No,
me going.
no.
I don't know what it is with you.
I know. Hey, listen, we love it. I just want to say, you were just talking about the Supreme Court decision. This ruling just came down. I mean, just an hour ago.
Yeah,
it was a 5-4 decision. It should shock absolutely nobody that it was Chief Justice Roberts that sided with the minority on this, because he wants to be invited to all the cocktail parties inside the Beltway. So he always seems to, you can never tell what he's going to do. But now we know. I suspected that at the end of the day, while this ruling went against Texas, it may actually backfire. It could turn into a boomerang situation, because can you see the images of the Border Patrol cutting those wires, and cutting those lines rather, and that's going to play horribly for Biden. It's not going to play well. So while it's a win, it may be kind of a backhanded win at best. What do you think about that? Because it seems to me that everybody we saw it in Iowa rather, how important the border is, even to Iowans. And now all of a sudden the Supreme Court gives the win to Biden. And now what? He's going to go remove all this this concertina wire? I can't imagine that doing a lot of good.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think about the poor employee with the Border Patrol or whoever the national employee was that had to get up there, took an oath of office to defend this nation, and here he is saying, he says, "What am I going to do? My boss just told me to take this wire down, and I don't think we should. This is one small measure to protect our border, and it goes against my better judgment." What do you think that poor soul's thinking right now? And I tell you what, here's what's clear. When there's a dispute over the protection of the border and the federal government isn't doing its job, it is clear in the Constitution that the states have the right to do it. I just don't understand why the Supreme Court thinks that taking down the wire is somehow in the greater good of protecting this nation. Would someone answer that question? I don't understand that. Here's what I understand. Elections have consequences. And I am before I'm saying go vote, use your good judgment, pick the best guy, vote straight Republican for crying out loud, because I can't see anything the Democrats are doing that is making sense, period. Up and down the line, all over the place. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to take a headline here, but I can only echo that sentiment. Whenever I hear somebody say, "Oh, geez, I don't care. They're all the same. I'm not going to," no, they're not all the same. They may have some peculiarities where they agree on certain things, but by God, they are not all the same. Our guest is Gene Valentino. He'll join us on the other side. Gene, hang in there. We're going to take a quick break for headlines on today's News Talk TNT.
Here's a little news flash. TNT Radio News.
For TNT, this is James O'Neill. The Russian Foreign Ministry has strongly condemned the shelling of Donetsk, a Russian city, by Ukrainian forces on Sunday, which resulted in at least 25 civilian deaths and 20 injuries. Residents of Queensland are preparing for the possibility of a Category 3 cyclone, anticipated to hit the coast soon after the area recently experienced severe weather conditions. University of Michigan computer science and engineering professor J. Alex Haldeman demonstrated the ability to breach the security of a Dominion voting machine.
The common housefly, caught in the clutches of the spider's web. Every move it makes just makes matters worse. Then, dinner time.
Feast on the captivating stories, videos, and helpful information on our website.
Whoa.
Dinner's ready.
Oh, man.
Escape is futile.
Just one more video.
Get stuck in our web.
TNTradio.live.
Okay, you're back with State of the Nation, and we're back with Gene Valentino, our guest. Well, Gene, yesterday, some shockwaves here, really, with DeSantis bagging out all of a sudden. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming. It was the writing has been on the wall for a while now. But Ron DeSantis decides to get out before the New Hampshire primaries, which of course are scheduled tomorrow. I'll ask you what I asked our last guest, is tonight the last night of the Nikki Haley campaign, or does she continue?
The answer is yes. I think the polls are going to wrap up between 65 to 35 in favor of Trump. But what I'm really surprised with, which makes me very happy, is the humility and decency Donald Trump showed in the conversation he had with Ron DeSantis. And then listening to Ron talk about acquiescing and acknowledging he had no clear path for a win, impresses the heck out of me, because Ron DeSantis is my governor, and I know how well he did in Florida. And between you and me, I wasn't sure I wanted to lose him in Florida. He's doing too good a job. So having said that, I'm happy that he took the high road. And I'm happier that Donald Trump did as well, and even made some nice comments about Mrs. DeSantis as well, First Lady. I will say this, that I don't like New Hampshire's primary system. We've got to be careful with the word independent. The independent word is really a party or an affiliation. The word that we have to use is undeclared. And in the New Hampshire law, the undeclared people in the Secretary of State's or Supervisor of Elections offices, that person is undeclared. He's technically not independent. If he's an independent, he's part of an independent party. So 40% of New Hampshire is on the roster as independent. It's not a party per se, it's just a category. And the law allows them to vote in this election, which I think is unfair and kind of is at cross purposes with the way we look at our democratic process. If you want to be in a primary, be in the primary of a Republican, be in the primary of a Democrat, a Libertarian, or anything else for that matter. But to morph the law to allow that undeclared person to participate in a party affiliation primary, I think disturbs the vote. Now, if Nikki Haley thinks she's going to get ground because of that, therein lies the problem for Nikki Haley, which has been feeding a lot of the pundits and the stories you're seeing in the press. Oh, she's got the Democrats jumping. But no, if you were a Democrat, you had to be not a Democrat last October 6th, and you had to register in New Hampshire as an independent. Otherwise, you can't be a Democrat and vote for Nikki Haley in this election. However, in Florida, to confuse matters, they have what's called a local open primary system. And in that primary system, if there's no Democrat running on the Democrat side, then those Democrats can vote in the Republican primary. And that race becomes the final race. So this is consistent with what I've talked to Brian and you about, Steve, about a constitutional amendment to streamline the voting process, not only in terms of number of days you're voting and where we're voting and how we're voting, but also who's voting. And that person has to be registered to a party. The two-party system works, and we have to give credence to that. It's worked for a long time. I get very nervous when I see these Davos-type intellectuals think they're going to stir the pot with some new creativity like they've been doing that has failed worldwide.
Yeah. utter failure worldwide. People are really starting to get it. You know, I'm interested in what you're saying here. We've got about a minute left, so I'll try to be brief, and hopefully you can too. But this idea of just taking the R all the way down the ballot, I feel like, you know, we talk a lot about, well, you know, Republicans need to use the same tactics as Democrats. And a lot of times that's the most simple one. That one right there that you laid out is the most simple one. Otherwise, you get into mudslinging, weaponizing government, character assassination, all these sort of things that really turn off a lot of Americans, not just GOP Americans. I'm talking center right, center left, libertarian, independent, and DGAF voters. Those people, in my estimation, you know, sandwich eating Americans, as I like to call it. Never mind if there's Beyond Burger meat in there or not. We'll save that. Probably not, though, in this crowd. But if that whole group of people were to realize, wait a minute, when they say we hate Trump, they're actually saying we hate the foundation of America, and we hate what people that vote their values will do. So how important is it to mark that R all the way down with that in consideration?
Not at all. That's why we have a ballot. I think everybody has to be judged individually at a certain point. I think that too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the soup or spoil the broth. In this case, democracy is a stress, a tug, a push and a tug. It's a push and a pull. It requires deliberation and working through the issues. So who gets it completely their way in a democratic constitutional republic like ours? No one does. It's the art of compromise. And that's what happens when we boil it down to two people in two major primaries. Now, by the way, the Democrats don't think that way, do they? They blew off New Hampshire completely and said, screw it. We're not even going to participate in New Hampshire. That may be a blessing for Joe Biden because we know how bad he would have done. But you know, the problem is that two-party system has a primary process to it, not to be confused with the caucuses. We had the Iowa caucus. And by the way, before the South Carolina caucus coming up, we have Trump shooting out to Nevada caucuses. Let's see how Nevada's caucus preempts or sets the stage for the South Carolina primary soon after.
Yeah. Gene Valentino, as always, my friend, we appreciate your wisdom and your sage words, man. You can check out Gene on his podcast, or in this case, his Truthcast, Grassroots Truthcast with Gene Valentino. You can find that on all the great streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, etc. Gene, there he goes, Captain America. I would just say, Gene, that there are some that are saying that Nikki should hang in there because she represents the other wing of the Republican deal. I just think that's bad advice. I think that DeSantis is setting himself up much better for 2028 by saying, I'm going to support our nominee, and it's obviously going to be Donald Trump. And hopefully
3 out of 4. That's right, Steve. 3 out of 4 DeSantis people have gone to Trump. What does that tell you?
Exactly. Well, Gene, thank you as always, my friend. We look forward to chatting with you again. And you have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us on State of the Nation, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Okay. There he goes, Gene Valentino. You are watching and listening to State of the Nation, and we'll be right back on today's News Talk TNT.